welcome back to another episode of Peepaw's Garage. As you can probably tell above me, it is monsoon season here in Arizona, and the overcast is a nice break from the humidity and the sunlight that we've been getting. I mean, it can get pretty brutal here. You're stepping out, and I do a lot of pool work, and although a lot of this rain and a lot of this weather is messing up my pools, I still enjoy it here, but it's also taking a lot of my time out during the week for me to get these things looking good for all my clients. I'm sure, as you were already probably able to tell, I'm going for a bike ride. You know, it's about 6 something in the morning. It's something I like to do before I start my day. Also helps me warm up the body, warm up my knees, my joints, which have in recent years started to turn on me. So this helps me get all warmed up, gets everything moving. As Pop likes to say, looby dooby, which I think comes from pudding, and gets all the blood flow going. So it's a good thing to start your day. Sometimes I'll even do it after dinner to help me with digestion. And appreciate you guys watching. Again, we're doing a little bit more of the Pontiac work. We're trying to go in a bit of spurts because there's only so much footage we have right now. If I were to give you everything, then it wouldn't really leave me much to work with as far as the weekends and what content I could give you guys, because I work full-time. Pop works full-time, and a lot of our time is devoted to the jobs that we rely on to make money. And I mean, I'm not sitting here and saying that, you know, YouTube is going to be our future. If that is eventually an option, then that's an option. And if the Lord says yes, then that's obviously something that we'll pursue. But you know, we'll visit that at a later date. So don't forget to leave us a like. Let us know what you think down below. Subscribe to the channel, share with all your friends, and God bless. We are bringing the Pontiac 400 up to the front of the garage to get it in here to start assembly. Almost there, Ruben. Come on, buddy. Do your part and we'll do ours. All we had to do was just get the Firebird over just a smidge more, okay, and get it as close to the wall as possible. Now we're going to be getting a little bit of musical cars going on here, because there are, believe it or not, quite a few more vehicles here than you might think. Oh, they're very well organized and hidden. So we got to get the Mustang out next. The room we have as it stands isn't so great. I suppose we could always do it in the middle, but I don't think that's a very good idea when you have one on one side and one on the other. Better just to get this moved over and have the room that we need to work out. So what I had suggested to Pop was to move this out of the way completely for the day while we get that motor worked on. We have to remove all the stuff on top of the toolboxes and get it all cleared off, so that when we bring all our parts up here, everything is all nice and organized, and we're not trying to fiddle around trying to find parts. It's going to be exactly where we need it, and assembly will be that much easier. Okay, my turn. Ugh. Oh, yeah. I never know which way this thing goes in. There we go. Oh, crap, the battery. Duh. Whoops-a-daisy. sure all passengers are seated and seatbelts properly buckled. Check all mirrors for proper viewing. Does horn work? We're not going to check. Ooh, yeah. Now it's time to move the runner. Dadgum! Look at this piece of bark. Ooh, she a big old piece like that. Oh my goodness. Valve covers and our bell housing shield right there. Water pump, cam, pulleys, etc., etc. Dipstick, of course, and this dipstick right here, myself. Oil pan, the parts down in there as well. All right, we got our push rods here with our chain sprockets and accompanying timing stuff. So we got to bring up a few more things. Obviously, we're missing the block. This will be the engine stand that we're using, courtesy of our good friend Adam. Adam, shout out to you, buddy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna keep heading to the back because you'd be surprised on just a small square footage of space, that motor that takes up however much room it takes up, which isn't a lot, how much goes into it, how packed full of stuff it really is. I mean, look at all this stuff when you spread it all out, but then it really goes together like a giant puzzle. Okay, got the block up front. Got our engine stand here, getting it all set, just getting the bolts put in. So you can, hopefully we're not gonna have to adjust any of the length. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be good lengthwise. We'll try it out here and see.
Yeah, it's gonna need more washers or spacers.
Yeah, it might need some more here. Let's see. Yep, that's bottomed out. Dadgummit. Okay. So we're bottomed out here. That's the ground we got to cover. So what are you thinking?
Well, we'll see if we got shorter bolts. If not, I'll see if we got spacers, or if not, lots of washers.
A crap load of washers. This one's definitely a little bit different than the other one we got. The other one we had, this head here that goes onto the stand dropped down just a little bit lower, but I think we'll be okay because these are maxed out.
Let's see. Go a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. I usually always tell just by looking here too. It's usually my telltale a little bit. I use just use the water. Oops.
This way, so we have to grab by the cylinders. And then, okay? Yep.
Got a little bit of grease on my hand. I had to wipe it up off the block. You know, you got to grease a little bit of the shaft that's right here, right? So you're putting it in, goes in nice and smooth, and you don't have too much binding when you're trying to turn it. But now this thing has a tendency to be a little bit biased towards one side, mainly because of the way it sits here. Walk us through the process here a little bit of what's going to be done, roughly in what order. What can we expect? We're going to be dropping the crank down in first once you get all this wiped down with WD, and then where would you go from there?
We're gonna throw the bearings in and put a little bit of oil on them and drop the crank in, and then we'll plastic gauge it to check tolerances. And once tolerances are checked, then we're going to pull it back out, put some good assembly lube on it, drop the seal in, and then go ahead and get that taken care of with torque the mains down and the whole 9 yards, and then we'll go from there.
That's what?
All right, grab that WD.
Okay.
We're gonna put just a light coat of WD on there real quick.
All right.
To set the crank in so that we can do the plastic gauging.
So you want a little bit on here?
So we can just take it and just do that.
Okay. Alrighty.
And then let's set the crank in. You grab one side, I grab the other.
All right.
Straight down in.
After doing a quick little wipe down of the parts here, we got just a smidge of flash rust. So I'm gonna get this paper towel, soak it in some WD-40, and wipe it all off, make sure it's free of any deposits, grime. And when we have this, we want clean installation.
Okay, we're gonna cut. We got plastic gauge here, which is a little plastic filament, something or another, little plastic string, and you cut little sections of it. We need 5 pieces of it because we have 5 mains. Set them on each main, thusly. We're gonna put our other bearings inside the main caps and then put the main caps on and torque this down dry without spinning the crank or moving it or anything like that. Then we'll torque it all down to spec, and then we'll pull it back off and we'll measure it out and we'll show you how that goes. Thrust bearing, thrust cap. The bearing that's got the shoulders on it on each side, and it keeps the crank from walking from front to back. And these caps are numbered anyway, so you can't get them out of whack. Number 2. Number 1. And here's number 3. There's no mistaking the rear main because it's the widest bearing of all. It's on the biggest cap.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the widest bearing of all?
And usually also the rear main cap isn't marked like the way these are. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's just rear main.
Suffice it to say, that one's plus it's gonna have to go over all that anyway. It's got the groove for that, and that's where your flywheel goes.
Yep. Okay. So now we'll put the bolts all in here. By the way, the 2 rear main ones on Pontiac are larger than the other 4. We're going to spray a little bit of WD on the threads on these because we're doing a wet torque, not a dry torque. You can see that one's bigger. And the last 2.
So what's our torque on these? What is we're gonna be? What is our?
I think it's somewhere around 100. I'm just snugging them right now. I don't actually remember anymore. I used to have all the numbers memorized, but
Is it gonna be the same all across the board, or are those rear mains gonna be higher?
the rear would probably be higher.
Okay. Probably by like another 20, 40 pounds, right?
Probably another 10.
Just 10.
Alright, we've got our torque wrench set at 95, which is for 1 through 4 mains. We're not going to torque it to 95 all the way at once, so we're just going to kind of go in increments or whatever. Just by feel. If you've been doing it long enough, you don't need to set it at 40 or 50 and then go to 70 and go whatever. Just do it by feel. Okay, now we're going to dial up to 120 pounds.
Same principle.
Yep, just go back and forth. Okay. Now we can break them all loose again, pull them off, get a reading on the plastic gauge and see where we're at. Okay, the little paper thing that the plastic gauge comes in has your markings on there. You put it on there to measure the width. So we're at about that one right there.
What, 25 thousandths?
025.
See if I can get them.
You see it right there? It matches that width.
Yep.
Okay. That looks just a hair under the 025 and a hair over the 038.
So we're looking at a 0.032. That one's zero.
That one's real close to an 038. That's an 038.
So out of these two marks, which one do you measure?
No, either one can do it. And that one's in between. All right, in case you guys are wondering, you know, we were looking at the millimeter side. It does translate over if you open this up, and it'll give you in inches. So 0.025 to 0.038 is, as you read it, left to right with a decimal there. It's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 1,000ths to 15 10,000ths. So we are right at the, you know, basically top of the range, whatever, of clearance. So if it was too much clearance, it would have been down in here, going to 1,000s, 2,000s, 3,000s, and then it goes less from there. So we're in this range, we're good. All right, according to the instructions on this, you glue this thing in, and it says to smear a thing down in there and then put it together and wait for it to squish out whatever, but kind of not liking that idea. This is the only place it's gonna glue into there, so
You can put those cake baking skills to use.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that the groove there, the lip thing where it goes that way, goes towards the inside. So that way, as the engine builds pressure, it pushes that lip towards the crank, not away from it. So we're supposed to put this in there and then let the thing sit for an hour. It says pull it back out, see if there's any goop that spread to where it wasn't supposed to be, trim that off, and then let the thing sit overnight, preferably, it says.
And if you prefer not to, like we do?
Then you're doing a roll of the dice, I guess. I don't know. Okay, make sure we have this correct. That's the back. This is the front and the front. I've never built a Pontiac with one of these new Viton seals. I always just use the old rope seal.
And I mean, the last thing we want for this seal is for it to turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of rotational force going on with this crank.
I mean, there's a lot less than if it was a rope seal.
Right.
Because usually you put a rope seal in one of these and it pretty much almost locks up the crank. You can see where some of the goop has squished out like they were talking about. I want to get it before we even put the cap back on and torque it. On that one. We're going to use a engine builder's, or I should say an old school Peepaw's favorite for putting together an engine. And we use STP on the bearings. It's what he used all the time. It's what I started using to put together a motor. And don't seem to have any problems. You slather this on the bearings here, a little bit of motor honey, so to speak, as they call it. And look at there, it makes you want to lick it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but
Maybe grab a biscuit or two.
yeah, some biscuit with some butter on it and throw the honey on there.
Yup.
Now you're talking. Okay. We're gonna do that right there, just like so. We've already plastic gauged these. Found out we're well within tolerance. We're gonna put a little bit of looby-doob around the back journal where the crank seal is gonna ride, instead of just kind of slathering some on there. Just so it's not on there dry. And she's ready to drop in. Okay, all right. Ready, Roy?
Right. Yep. Ah, man, when did my allergies start going crazy now? What the heck?
Oh, wind's been up.
Ay, ay, ay. All right. She's in with the oil seal.
Dope.
Dope. Now we're gonna have to put some on these caps, yeah?
We'll put some on the caps, and we're actually going to use a little bit of white lithium
Okay.
on the bolt thread here.
Okay. Now how come you would want to do that? That won't mess with the torque?
It is going to mess with the torque. It's going to be a wet torque, which is what you want.
Okay.
You don't want a dry torque because you get a improper torque reading.
Okay. And you don't get an improper torque reading with wet torque.
That's what it's supposed to be, is wet torque, because it's supposed
Okay.
to be. It's got to be smooth, and it will torque properly. If you do it dry,
you're not going to get a full torque spec.
Okay. So what number is that? 4. Right back to 4.
Thrust bearing.
Now, do you ever want to put these on a specific order? Can you put this one on 2, 3?
Doesn't really matter.
It's just the tightening sequence that matters, more or less,
just,
right?
You know, well, even tightening it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It only gets critical on your sequence as far as which ones you're tightening how, especially when you're doing the heads.
Right.
So the heads, you work from the center out because it will actually flex the head as it gets torqued.
Okay.
This, you're just doing the one, you know, you can go back and forth till you get to your torque specs,
yeah,
and it's fine. As long as you don't oink this one all the way to, you know, 95 and then try to do that one,
yeah,
then you're causing problems.
You ever heard that saying, hot damn? Well, look at this. Hot cam.
That's a hot cam right there.
Hot cam.
Okay, we're gonna put a little white lithium on the cam gear. That way it's already got some good looby-doob that'll stay on there a while till everything gets lubed up.
Putting the STP lube on there now.
Yep, STP on there, white lithium on the lobes and on the...
Just looks like butter and honey now.
Yep, just missing a biscuit.
Yep.
Okay, so with that there now, we'll go ahead and looby-doob up the rest of all this thing, and then we'll just drive her home. Now, even though this is a used cam, the lifters are broken into these lobes and everything else, we are still going to treat it as kind of a fresh start, and we're going to add some zinc additive along with a high zinc oil, which is we're probably going to use Rotella diesel oil because it's got all the ZDDP additives and all that bunch of stuff, and it will help with a typical flat tappet cam with break in and break out and break over and make sure it doesn't break.
Okay.
And Scooby-Doo. It's always the fun part. Very careful not to bang around your bearings in there. Okay, she's in. Keep in mind, it's Pontiac. Do not forget your cam plate here that keeps it from walking out. You'll have a problem if you don't put it in.
I wonder what's going to happen. I might just spin a little bit and go.
That's called cam walk.
Cam walk. So that's the original sea walk, huh?
No, it's just derives from the Ewoks.
The Ewoks that don't walk.
The Ewoks, that their name was never mentioned in Star Wars. They were never mentioned as an Ewok. Trivia of the day.
There you go. Since we're all about 1977 around here.
1977.
1977. Between Redline Bikes, Smokey and the Bandit, Star Wars, Trans Ams. Yep.
Okay. Next gonna come some pistonage.
Thank you guys for watching and sticking with, especially all the way to the end of the video. I know it's a bit of a tedious work getting the crank in, getting in the camshaft. Sometimes can seem a little bit boring if I'm completely honest. Again, I can't reveal everything all at once. It's not something that's in the cards right now. I wish I had the time to be able to do one whole video, start to finish, build from scratch, and get all the way to a finished product. But that's just not in the cards right now. So we appreciate you guys. Gosh dang, if I could just learn these words. We appreciate you guys being so patient with us and watching us every single time we post these new videos. Again, give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Sub to the channel, share with other people. Don't share with other people, whatever you want. Don't forget, there is no substitute for good old-fashioned know-how. See you on the next one.